Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Extra chapters. Modern setting. Only possibility. Part 3, now turning to mischief. The setting sun smeared a caramel-colored glow on the transparent glass of the venue, and the red glow outside was like a brocade. Xuemeng and Xiaolong walked around a huge hall. At this time, there was no one in the gym. The training was over and only the incandescent lights in the equipment room were still on. One person and one dragon looked at each other and walked towards the equipment room. They saw the Mo Ran in his junior high school years. It was probably because he was only in the first year of junior high school and his poor family did not provide him with sufficient nutrition, so naturally, the child still did not grow taller. He was not very different with how he was when they saw him in the noodle shop. Mo Ran's thin body was wrapped in a sack-like school uniform, the dirty black hair was hanging down to his cheeks and his ghostly, unremarkable little head. The little ghost's head had his back turned to them as he sat cross-legged on the floor, tidying up the badminton balls that the students used up. Why is he alone? Xuemeng puzzled, why aren't others helping? Xiaolong flipped through the task guide and frowned, well, they just played a badminton match with the other class this afternoon and they lost badly. The other players agreed that it was Mo Ran who dragged them down, so they made him clean up the equipment for everyone. After reading it, he couldn't help but exclaimed, wow, this is too miserable. As a favored son of heaven, Xuemeng had never experienced the taste of being a man on the pot, so he was stunned for a while, and after a long time, he slowly opened his eyes and finally reacted. Damn it! He said angrily, what nonsense! How can you blame a single person for a loss of a group game? Are these people's heads caught by the door? This venerable one appreciated your grandeur, Xiao Xuemeng. Xiaolong said, but our current task seems to be to open the main story of the heroine encounter with the man on the pot. I appreciate your ruthlessness, four-legged bug. Xuemeng rolled his eyes, but he still went closer with Xiaolong to study the strategy for this battle. On this game route, there are 3 female characters that can be choose from. One is named Yaolan, who is a senior, 2 years older than Mo Ran. Then it's almost graduation time. Xiaolong shook his head, no, there are too many unstable factors on this. You're right. Xuemeng narrowed his eyes and looked at the next one. The second one is called Rong Yan. What the fuck? This is the school director. Xiaolong was stunned. Can Mo Ran target the school director? She's 36 years old. He's only 13 years old. This is not a mother-in-law relationship, this is an aunt-nephew love affair. In their shouting, a big red cross suddenly appeared on the guide, followed by a line of crooked and small shy words, sorry, I made a miscalculation. This can't be considered an option. Xiaolong. Xuemeng, so this task guide is really not artificial intelligence but an artificial mental retard, right? The guide shyly and hurriedly erased the words about Rong Yan. Because he was too hasty, he even accidentally erased half of Yao Yan's photos. Only the last option was left. Xuemeng turned down a page, Luo Xianxian. According to the guide, Luo Xianxian is the flower of their class and is favored by all the boys. Moreover, she has a gentle personality and a noble character. She is never arrogant and petty, and has a very kind heart. Okay, then this it? Xuemeng said, I will be tempted to praise her again, perfect wife. That's according to you. Xiaolong was well informed. Some men have unique tastes, and they like perverted and spicy ladies, 10 centimeters high heels and can't be less than 1 centimeter, flaming red lips, small leather whip, sunglasses, and military caps. When they get angry, they don't only slap half your face but evenly slap on the left and on the right. Xuemeng commented, I'm afraid you are talking about a senior VIP member of the M Club. Whether Mo Ran was such a VIP member, they didn't know. But they happily agreed that Luo Xianxian had a better chance of winning than Yaolan. The guide begun. Try to keep Mo Ran in the equipment room until 6 o'clock in the evening, when the self-study begins. And ensure that Mo Ran's image at that time was very miserable. What else? Xuemeng carefully read the guide 3 or 4 times. No more. That's it? Xiao Long asked in surprise. That's it? Xuemeng closed the book. The dragon's head leaned out and looked at the wall clock on the wall. It's almost 5 o'clock now. We'll just have to drag things out for another hour. The two of them rolled up their sleeves and did what they said. It shouldn't be too simple to drag the time. They watched Mo Ran. When he was about to put the last racket on the shelf, they cast a spell and the shelf shook and toppled in an irrational inhuman movement. Noises were made by the falling volleyball and ping-pong balls. Mo Ran. Looking at the black eyes of the little guy that had opened wide involuntarily, it was the eyes of the dog when he was injured. Xuemeng and Xiao Long couldn't help but feel a strong sense of guilt. However, they still firmly believed that what they did wasn't wrong. Mo Ran began to hastily rearrange the sports equipment on the floor. His hands and feet were very agile. It didn't take long for him to almost put all of those items back into their original positions. Even though he was tired to the point of perspiration, his moist lips were slightly opened and closed, and he was even panting a little. It had to be admitted that he really was talented in organizing things. Xuemeng was stunned to watch him put the last fallen table tennis ball back into the barrel at such a fast speed and stuffed it into the corner. It only took 15 minutes for the entire cleaning process to happen. Xuemeng swallowed with his dry throat and bumped Xiao Long with his arm. Should we do it again? As a result, Mo Ran helplessly watched the equipment shelf rocked as if it was caught in the wind and inexplicably fell a second time. And for the third time, the fourth time. They watched the exhausted and weak figure chasing the ball running all over the floor, covered in sweat. His eyes were blank and helpless but still carefully arranged the balls again and again, repeatedly checking whether the 4 feet of the shelf were secure and carefully putting the equipment back in their place. Only for the ball rack to collapse at the last minute. In the end, Mo Ran stood in front of the shelf. His eyes were a little wet and aggrieved. He was probably taking this as a high-level joke set by a classmate to make fun of him. Holding a basketball, his thin and lonely figure looked miserable and helpless. Xuemeng's conscience has been destroyed to the extreme. He could not take it anymore. We are like the villains. Xiao Long covered his mung-bean eyes with his fat dragon claws and howled, "No. You are the only villain. I'm just a bad dragon, woo woo woo." At 5 minutes to 6 o'clock, Mo Ran was panting exhaustedly again. The equipment rack was 4 times higher than him. After he got down from the ladder, he stood in front of the shelf hesitantly and waited for more than 10 seconds. There was no movement. It did not fall. After more than 10 seconds, he finally breathed a sigh of relief, and turned around with a heavy step to get out of the equipment room. However, at a place where he could not see, Xuemeng and Xiao Long were already quarreling. "You do it?" "No. I've just done it. I pushed the shelf more times than you do. I don't want to. My conscience can't bear it anymore. I feel like I'm bullying my little classmate." "Then how about me?" 3 minutes to 6 o'clock. Seeing that Mo Ran was about to leave and the mission was about to fail, Xuemeng gritted his teeth. He hardened his heart and raised his hand to hit the equipment shelf. Rumble. The shelves were full of things and even the shelves itself crashed to the floor, raising a cloud of dust to be thrown up under the lights. The mess was more thorough than ever before. Whether it was the transparent Xuemeng and Xiao Long or the little Mo Ran who shrank back in fear at the entrance, all were dumbfounded. "But it's finally past 6 o'clock, isn't it?" Afterwards, Xiao Long took a long time to appease Xuemeng's broken heart as the shelf collapsed. "Aya, I knew this wasn't your intention. Look, it's the heaven that bestow great responsibility for the people of this country." Xuemeng was still covering his face with his hands as he squatted next to Mo Ran, who was biting his lips and silently gathering the equipment. "Shut up. Xiao Long, shut up." But after a while, Xuemeng heard its noisy voice again, hey. Hey, look dash. Xuemeng, I said shut up. Xiaolong, Luo Xianxian is here. Xuemeng raised his head sharply only to see that under the yellow light of the stadium, Luo Xianxian's full and graceful figure appeared outside the slightly open door of the gymnasium. She pushed the door open, revealing a pair of slender fair legs beneath the pleated skirts of her school uniform. Holy light! Descend! There were the only words that came in Xuemeng's mind. He burst into tears. Great! He finally no longer have to push equipment shelves against his conscience. For this reason alone, he would give Luo Xianxian 10 points. Mo ran. Luo Xianxian opened her mouth, her voice soft and sweet like a summer orange blossom. Xuemeng and Xiaolong wept together, and felt that Mo Ran was finally saved from a career in gayness. The class flower Lu quickly followed the light to the equipment room. She leaned her head carefully and seeing that Mo Ran was still busy, she couldn't help but widen her beautiful eyes. Hey, why is it so messy? Mo Ran turned his head and when he saw that it was her, he sighed and said, the shelf fell down. The teacher asked me to tell you to go back for the evening self-study. Luo Xianxian walked into the equipment room and looked around, let me help you. We need to hurry up and go back together after we finish. Mo Ran was stunned for a moment before beds of sweat dripped from his eyelashes into his eyes. He wiped it with his hands in a hurry and muttered gratefully, thank you. It's a good start. The little candle dragon was very moved. It's gratifying. Xuemeng was very emotional. The two adolescent boy and girl busied themselves helping each other in the dimly lit room. The girl's pleated skirts flew gently when she stepped on the ladder as the boy held one volleyball after another and handed them to the beautiful girl organizing the equipment. Woo woo woo. Xiaolong burst into tears, human love is so cute. Xuemeng rarely agreed but probably because he had facilitated this event, he commented, it is indeed pure and innocent, it's very moving. The two classmates climbed up and down but Xuemeng was still ruthless and noted that the mess was cleaned a lot slower compared to before. It was already an hour after and they are still not done yet. And now it was time for the gymnasium to be locked for the day. When the footsteps of the patrolling student on duty came from outside the door, Xuemeng and Xiaolong were still immersed in their own joy and could not extricate themselves. It was only when they turned around that they saw a handsome senior holding a recording board and wearing a badge walked in. Xuemeng. Xiaolong. They found their smiles froze like sun-baked dog dropping, both their mouths opened in O shape of their own accord. This is that. Xuemeng's throat was dry. The little candle dragon simply screamed, it's that Chu Wanning. Chu Wanning walked into the dimly lit equipment room. Thanks to him being so calm at a young age that he only frowned when he saw what seemed to be an aftermath of a tsunami, what's going on? Mo Ran turned his head. His eyes were very bright and moist from exertion. Tidying things up with Luo Xianxian made him relaxed and happy, so he naturally smiled brightly at the senior who he had never met before, the dimples on his cheeks deepening. Things fell to the floor and are being sorted out. If senior wants to lock the gym, he has to wait a little longer. Chu Wanning let out a sigh. Xuemeng and Xiaolong shook their heads in unison as they saw him put down the recording board in his hands and walked into the room where there was only one boy and one girl previously. Although the senior has a stern face, he has a good heart, I will help you. Luo Xianxian smiled and said, that's great. Thank you, senior. Xiaolong and Xuemeng roared together, thank him for being a big head. Because Xuemeng's last elbow hit the shelf too hard, the butterfly flapped its wings and the fate was changed again. When they came to see the results 20 years later with the Destiny Jumper machine, they tragically found that Mo Ran, who had become the head of the school's finance department, was talking with the current school director, which was why the task guide made a mistake. It confused Director Rong with Director Chu, in the stands of the school gymnasium. It was still about 6 o'clock in the evening when the clouds were like a sea of red maples. There was no one in the empty gymnasium save for the two who were sitting in the stands. Only 2 students on duty were mopping the ground. They were at one end and the cleaning students were at the other end. The distance was too far in between, leaving only 2 unrecognizable shadows. "Where's Luo Xianxian?" Xiao Long didn't give up and asked tremblingly with a glimmer of hope. Xuemeng chose to remain silent. Because he saw Mr. Mo holding Teacher Chu's hand in an inconspicuous manner. Later on, when no one was paying attention, Mo Ran bent over and kissed Chu Wanning's cheek quickly and gently. Damn. Again. This father doesn't believe that there is no hope. And so, they used the destiny jumper again to come to another turning point in the game. Where is it this time? Xiao Long asked impatiently, unable to stand the suspense. Xuemeng was as angry and unwilling as it was. He quickly looked around and made a precise judgment. It seems that this one's a bit early. I think in this route, Mo Ran was just about to enter kindergarten. I am afraid that the gender consciousness is not clearly defined yet. It is a good opportunity to change the ending of the game. So where exactly are we? Xuemeng raised his finger and pointed to the left at 3 o'clock, and read out the small round characters on the entrance gate accurately, "Children Playground." The little candle dragon rubbed his fists and rubbed his claws. His whole body seemed to be enveloped by the golden light full of fighting spirit. His eyes were blazing with fire. Good. The playground is where the sweet little girl gathers. This time, we must give Mo Ran perfect guidance. We absolutely can't fail. But Xuemeng was not as impulsive as before. From the first 2 failures, he summed up some experience, so before starting work, he narrowed his eyes and thought for a while, then raised his head. I'm wondering if we should change the strategy this time. What? Xiao Long's beard twitched. What do you mean? Xuemeng said, before, all our failures are upon the appearance of Chu Wanning. I have a bad feeling that even if we trigger the female lead route, the Chu Wanning route would also be triggered at a certain point in time. He seems to have a special fate with Mo Ran, just like a bug in a game. Xiao Long wagged his tail unhappily. What fate? It is like buy one get one free shampoo in the supermarket. That's right. Xuemeng said, imagine, even if we painstakingly work hard to initiate the beautiful girl's route in accordance to the strategy, but because of certain reasons, Chu Wanning coincidentally passed by once again. Xiao Long rolled his mung bean eyes and thought for a second, before he let out a piercing scream, then it would get fucked up. Xuemeng slapped his thigh. That's right. It would get all fucked up. So, what should we do? As a scholar who has the courage to abandon books and create new ways of playing, Xuemeng said hesitantly, so I think, this time we will not only trigger the heroine route but would also prevent the appearance of the NPC Chu Wanning. The little dragon immediately began to clap his hands in a very polite manner. After a while, it discovered that it was still somewhat confused, so it stretched out its little claws and tried to scratch its head. It was a pity that its claws were too short to scratch its head. Xuemeng glanced at it, and raised his hand kindly to help the little friend scratch its head. The soothed little candle dragon snorted happily and asked, your plan is very good, but there is a problem. We are not programmers and we don't know if Chu Wanning will appear and when will he appear. I've thought about that for a long time. Xuemeng grinned. This time, we will do nothing and let Mo Ran move freely. We will see under which circumstances will he meet Chu Wanning. It would best if they do not encounter each other, and therefore we must be careful and ensure not to trigger that event from happening. The little dragon was probably very comfortable with Xuemeng's massage, or perhaps it was really enjoying this idea, or perhaps it was both. In the end, it smacked its lips and sincerely praised, you're right, that's a very good idea. Thus, the 2 young friends happily came to a consensus. They decided to wait and see how Chu Wanning and Mo Ran would meet in this playground. End chapter. Dumb Husky and his white cat Shizun. Extra chapters. Modern setting. Only possibility. Part 4, Turn Around. We're selling ice cream. Chocolate ice cream, vanilla ice cream and smoothies of various flavors. Come and have a look. A young plump girl wearing the park's theme of bunny ears, holding a sign written on small wooden board, was smiling and touting business. She must be a student who came to work during the summer vacation. Her brows were bright and lively, her face was red from the sun, her lips were as moist and plump as the syrupy cherries on cheesecake, and even though there were 1 or 2 pimples on her forehead, she still looked pretty and cute. A group of elementary school students wearing yellow kindergarten sun hats surrounded her, chattering like little sparrows. "Auntie, I want a strawberry-flavored ice cream. I'm here first. I want 3. Miss, can you let me touch your bunny ears?" The bunny girl kept a bright smile to everyone, but Shuemeng noticed that she gave each child who called her sister a big scoop of milky ice cream and handed it to them first. And those who called her auntie waited for a long time before they were given their ice cream, which scoop were obviously smaller. Shuemeng and Xiaolong stood not far away and watched. Xiaolong subconsciously licked his noble dragon lips and said, "This venerable one also want to eat ice cream. 2 scoops, 1 matcha and 1 chocolate. Don't think about it. I won't buy it for you," Shuemeng said ruthlessly, "and we're inside the game. They can't see us nor can we eat the ice cream here, understand?" Xiaolong rolled his eyes and tried his best to defend the dragon's prestige, which fell to the ground in front of the ice cream. "I'm just talking about it." Shuemeng ignored it while searching and observing in the crowd. Then he said, "It seems that this is a spring outing organized by the kindergarten. Let's look for Mo Ran." They found him quickly. The situation of Mo Ran's family was not so good. He has a very unkempt appearance, so no one wanted to be in his company. Of course he wouldn't huddle around an ice cream truck like the rest of the kindergarten kids. He wouldn't spend his money for a week's worth of cheap breakfast to buy that frozen clump of cream that would melt soon. He sat alone under the shade of a big tree, staring at his classmates with black eyes without blinking. He did want the ice cream though, as he subconsciously licked his lips and bit them. The action is exactly the same as the little candle dragon who wants to eat ice cream. Shuemeng couldn't help but laugh. Xiaolong felt his face turned red and asked angrily, "What are you laughing at? You are not allowed to laugh." Mo Ran had no ice cream, no friends, and there are very few snacks in his bag. He just sat alone under the tree, and by noon, he ate a piece of dry bread, then dumped the scraps by the roots of the tree and stared intently at the ants lining up to share his pitiful food. "Don't be hasty. No need to rush. Everyone has a share," he muttered softly, holding his knees and looking at the ants seriously. He was probably so bored that he even gave them names. "Liang Chaoei, if you move this piece that's too big, you won't be able to lift it. Would you like to replace it with a smaller piece? Guo Di Gang, you should be modest. That piece of bread is obviously what Lin Jiying liked first. You can't bully the small just because you're older. Oh no, you two are the same age." The excitement around didn't have much to do with him. Shuemeng and Xiaolong were 2 transparent individuals sitting next to him. However, it seemed as if there were 3 invisible people sitting under this tree instead of just 2. The other children and the teacher, they all act as if Mo Ran didn't exist. But what was more astonishing was that Mo Ran did not feel depressed nor gloomy because of this. Instead, he and his ant friends had a good time together. When Mo Ran was in kindergarten, there was a popular drama called Still Pig Gag, a stupid and melodramatic love period drama. Little Mo Ran was obviously addicted to it as he muttered, "Little Yanzi, you don't have to fight with your sister for food. I still have bread. Sai, Zai Wei, you're going the wrong way. The ant hole is here." It was probably because of his concentrated appearance that aroused the curiosity of others. The fattest little boy in the kindergarten walked towards him aggressively, shaking the 2 lumps of soft flesh on his cheeks. Hearing that Mo Ran was guiding Zai Wei where to walk, the little fat boy widened his eyes and asked, What are you doing? Who are you talking to? Mo Ran hurriedly stopped him. Don't go any further. You're about to step into my forbidden city. Little fatso. Mo Ran pointed at the ants and introduced them to the little fat boy with a smile. Look, this is Liang Chaoei. This is Guo Digang. This is Lin Jiying. This is Su Yupeng, and the one with big nostrils, that is Khan. The little fat boy asked worriedly, are you having a fever? Ants have no nostrils. No, I'm fine. Mo Ran said patiently, ants have nostrils. You can see it if you look at it with your heart. Also, look at the red one, it's Lin Xinru. The little fat boy asked in a trembling voice, then who are you? Mo Ran seriously though for a moment and said firmly, I am Huang Ama. Xuemeng and Xiao Long laughed heartily at the side. Xuemeng hooked his transparent arm around the little boy that Mo Ran could not see as tears of mirth flowed out of his eyes. This is priceless. I love this guy. Once I'm finished with this mission, I will definitely find Mo Ran in the real world and kowtow to him. Ha 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 ha. Xiao Long also laughed and squeaked, then you will become the prince, the emperor's sworn brother, ha 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 ha. Unfortunately, the little fat boy could not appreciate Mo Ran's fun and treated him like he was a lunatic. After glancing at him in horror, he turned around and ran away like a small chariot with a height of only 1 meter and a weight of nearly 80 pounds. While running, he tripped over a stone, so he lifted his pants and continued to run wildly. After a while, Mo Ran suddenly had the idea to build a park for the ants. Xuemeng sat next to him, watching the little guy build a bridge with a branch, use a leaf as a parasol, and even built a circle of small defensive walls with stones. However, he still felt that it's not pretty enough. He dug a small pothole that was neither too deep nor too shallow, then patted his hand, turned around and walked towards the creek deep in the woods. What is he doing? The little candle dragon asked inexplicably while looking at the ant park built by Mo Ran. Xuemeng stared at the pothole. I think he may want to build an artificial lake for the ants. Doesn't he know that the water will just seep into the soil? This time it was Xuemeng's turn to roll his eyes. Big brother, he is only in kindergarten and he can't be more than 6 years old. As the person and the dragon muttered at one another, Xuemeng suddenly caught a glimpse of a child walking on the small stone road not far away. He was stunned for a moment, then turned pale in shock, and rammed Xiao Long with his elbow. Quick! Look at the time. What's time and how many seconds it is now? Xiao Long was knocked down by him, as it bared its teeth angrily. What are you doing? If you want to say something, then just say it. No need to knock me up. Hurry! Hurry! But Xuemeng's expression was the same as that of seeing a ghost. Quick! What's the time? The boss is coming. Bo what bo? Xiao Long didn't have time to say out the SS, as he suddenly choked when he followed Xuemeng's line of sight. Ah! Oh my mother! They frantically started looking for watches or other timekeeping tools on themselves. The little candle dragon turned and screamed, Chu Wanning is really in this park. Wasn't it you who said that they were like buy one take one shampoo? What's so strange about this? Unable to find his watch or mobile phone, Xuemeng was in a frenzy. I take it back. The little candle dragon howled, they're not buy one get one free shampoo. Those they can be taken apart once you've taken them home. These two are Oreo biscuits, they always come together. No matter what they were, when the child Chu Wanning passed by the big tree, he was attracted by the branches, stones, and dead leaves under the tree that were obviously deliberately arranged, as well as the unfinished pit. He was stunned for a moment, and then slowly walked to the empty space under the tree. Xuemeng and Xiao Long were not counted. The shade of the tree cast gently on his fair skin. He lowered his head and silently looked at that ant park, then raised his head and looked left and right. With no one around, this seems to be an abandoned project. Chu Wanning hesitated for a while. The boy was wearing an exquisite white shirt and light blue jumper. He stepped into the dirty mud pit with his soft leather Italian shoes. Under the protest of Xuemeng and Xiaolong, he started to play with the architectural project left by Mo Ran. "It's over," Xuemeng said. "It's all fucked up," Xiao Zilong said. "The Chu Wanning route is about to be triggered again," they both said in unison. Sure enough, when Mo Ran returned with a bottle of stream water, he was surprised to find that there was an uninvited guest next to his ant park. "You don't move." The young Chu Wanning was startled. He stood up and stared at the unkempt child who was running towards him with his pair of cat-like eyes. "I'm not." Chu Wanning was still holding a branch in one hand, a little embarrassed. He looked down at the ant park and then looked up at the child in front of him. "I just..." The little unkempt boy stood in front of his ant park anxiously and nervously said, "This is not a violation of the rules." "Chu Wanning," the little unkempt boy added. "Don't destroy it." Chu Wanning said, "I didn't plan to destroy it. I think it looks good." Chu Wanning said tentatively, "Can I play with you?" So, the two children ended up playing together somehow. The defensive wall built with stones before by Mo Ran was suggested to be rebuilt with small branches. They both thought it was a good idea, so Chu Wanning looked for suitable branches amongst the fallen leaves while Mo Ran was responsible for erecting them at the same distance into the soft soil. Together, they rebuilt the fence, put plastic bags in the dug holes and poured the stream water into it to create an artificial lake. Chu Wanning picked up a few petals of hatang from somewhere and sprinkled them on the surface of their artificial lake. They even put 2 small ants on the petals and invited them to experience the petal boat with a faint fragrance. When Mo Ran dug into the soil, he used a strong force and the mud that was dug out splashed into Chu Wanning's obviously expensive clothes, but Chu Wanning didn't care. He and this unkempt little boy who he met for the first time had a common interest and aesthetics as him. They had a lot of fun and ignored the dirt in their clothes, the mud on their hands and the sweat on their faces. There were only 2 pairs of eyes as bright as stars. There was also a dreamlike ant paradise created by 2 pairs of small hands. The sun was setting. The children in the kindergarten had to come back as a group while Chu Wanning came with his father, so he alone still had plenty of time to stay. "Help me finish the tower," Mo Ran reluctantly said to his new friend before running into the bus. Chu Wanning's little expressionless face broke into a smile as he said, "Okay. When I finish, I'll ask my dad to come over and take pictures. Show it to me next time." I'll show it to you next time." Mo Ran was stunned for a moment and suddenly seemed to remember something and said in shock, We have been playing for so long, but I haven't asked your name yet." Chu Wanning was also stunned for a moment and then his eyebrows eased up and his expression became brighter. "You're right. I also forgot." Mo Ran laughed heartily. "I keep having the feeling that we've known each other for a long time." Chu Wanning pursed his lips but did not say anything. However, his eyes were full of smiles. "My name is Mo Ran and I go to Drunken Fish Kindergarten." Mo Ran thought for a moment and imitate the TV show where the adult shakes the other person's hand. When he put out his hand, he realized that it was full of mud, so he quickly retracted it and wiped it against his clothes. Afterwards, he stretched his hands towards Chu Wanning again. He grinned and said, "Nice to meet you." Chu Wanning did not show any reluctance nor hesitation and held the muddy claws that his little friend could not wipe completely clean. With his black hair fluttering slightly in the wind, he said, "Nice to meet you. My name is Chu Wanning." I suddenly felt that. At the side, Xiao Long muttered silently, "They are so good together." "Don't say it." Xuemeng had a headache. I think even I was moved a little. The little candle dragon roared anxiously, "You can't be moved. You can't be brainwashed. We have to contribute to genetic engineering." "That's right." Xuemeng showed the look of someone waking up from a dream and said sternly, "I wrote down the time and instance that trigger the Chu Wanning route. Let restart this route again." This time we are prepared and will be able to stop it. We can prevent the Chu Wanning route from happening next time. End chapter.